Hello and welcome to the second edition of Hyper Annotation. Here we are at the opening of the exhibition of Alluvium by Ramin, Rokni and Hesam Rahmanian. Thank you for talking to us. Can you first give us maybe a general description of the exhibition, the idea behind it?
It's trying to cast our time based in two levels. One level is this transient moment of the everyday life, and the other one, this messy condition of the world. So you have these suspended plates with these themes in the exhibition, which we kind of collected from mostly the media from the region, news and media from Middle East, and trying to re-narrate it through our visual culture, which come from the Persian painting or modern literature, local knowledge that we can gather. And then there is another aspect of our time, which is this precarity and this suspension, this uncertainty that all of us experiencing it, which we couldn't talk about it or we couldn't depict it. So we're trying to dance it. So we dance that anxiety, we dance that suspension for a fourth participator of the collaborator, which is a welder from Bangladesh, who we can't communicate through language because we don't share a common language. So he kind of materialized our body gestures, and we together trying to make this plate suspended. What else we can add to it?
I think you covered almost.
And the idea of the dance come from our collaboration with Deborah Hay, American choreographer from Jutsun Dance Company, which they trying to bring bring dance to the society, and so they consider the dance in with the daily activities. So when we talk about the dance is in that angle, which we had a chance and privilege to see her, and for 2 days we do
back
a
in
project
2014.
in 2014. So that meeting and encounter was the seed of this Alluvium exhibition.
Talked about common languages and communicating. As a trio, as an artist trio, how that communication works between yourself, like what are the challenges? How this idea gets conceived in the process?
We don't usually we don't looking for the communicating, but we are looking for the comprehending. Comprehension is an important thing. Even Rais Mullah comprehend our dance. Otherwise for.
In the past, we also work with for example, because usually when we as the three of us, we often have other collaborators or participators that come and we become like a body of people that work together. It usually happens that if it happened actually in the past that, for example, if there was a carpenter came or other welders came to our practice, if they did not really comprehend or they thought, I don't know, maybe we were crazy or something with our movements and all that, so they left the whole activity sustained, and so we continued to somebody else, or when someone like, for example, Rais Mullah, who when he's actually very eager to participate in the creative process, then it's actually when we, for example, when we tell him tomorrow we're gonna do, you know, a work together. He shows up at 6 a.m., you know, to do something, you know.
And between three of us, we also most of the time we don't call our practice like a, you know, sculpting or painting. We said negotiation. You know, it's a negotiation field between three of us, and we, you know, sometimes, you know, when three of us are agree on something, we think that the work is not finished. You know, so we have to stop it and rethinking it and redo it again. You know, so it's like the whole process is based on that. Yeah.
That's actually really interesting because I wanted to ask, because the work seems procedural, like when do you know when is the moment of completion? When do you know it's, because at the end of the day it deals with matter, it deals with material. However, like, I don't know, it gets into the form of installation, or as you say, deals with dance, movement, and all that. And actually, it makes it harder to point down a moment that you say, now it is something that we're going to present it for wider communication. When that moment, or like, when do you know when that moment
You know,
is there?
we are not that kind of, we are not into finishing the things. Because it's not a, you know, we don't looking at the art as something like a chess playing. You know, we don't want to win. You know, it's not about the win. It's winning. It's about how you play. You know, so that's important. And also, we looking at our exhibition and our practice as a landscape. So we never finish anything, but it's we grow. And we try to grow in a multi directions. So encountering others, bringing others from different walks of life to the picture, it's open a new door to new territory. So sometimes we start from rewriting a poetry and ended up to, you know, redesign a mental hospital, you know, or, you know, start from the painting.
Or we were
Ended
working on
up with
actually, yeah, we were working actually on a series of, like, for example, animation or moving paintings, and then we reached to working on these alluvium plates. So this kind of it is, again, as Rokni mentioned, it is exactly like the landscape. How when you walk into a landscape, there is no beginning and no end, and things are growing, things are failing, things are, you know, in the process of becoming, and it never, and that growth, it never ends. It just goes and goes and goes, and life continues with it. And it's the same way almost if we are looking at it in that angle.
We talked about how somehow organic is your approach toward arts. I was going to ask, now it is the 59th edition of Biennale, and the exhibition is at the same time of the Biennale. And with institutions, generally, the approach towards art is different. Even if it's media art, installation, it needs somehow to be out there for markets, a certain kind of circulation. And now everyone is happy that after pandemic, we are here again in person, having the art objects in front of us. How do you see, like, this kind of venues, or generally institution and art, and this relationship? And if you have seen the Venice shows, like the pavilions or the main show, and have something to add or comment, that would be nice too. Thank you.
It is a challenging question.
Because you know, I think it's little bit in our case, which we come from Middle East, and we have a kind of history of you know, the way that we grown up is a self-didactism involved, you know, so it's little bit is the thinking towards the institution for us, and also we are you know, most of our work is independently, you know, we are kind of trying to be independent, kind of thinking towards the institution is little bit different than a Western, you know,
in Middle East is
it's kind of, yeah, it's maybe I couldn't answer that because it's little bit is different, you know, for the perception of the institution, you know, because we never, you know, we don't have that academic background, and then we don't encounter with the institutions like that, you know. We sometimes we said we are like a termites, you know, we are kind of bottom of this, and we come up and, you know, sometimes we decide on something and then it's a completely wrong way to go, and we have to cut it down and start it from scratch again, you know. So like we started as three of us started as individual artists, you know, like a contemporary art scene, you know, and then we come out and in the you know, after a while we told, you know, we started to think that this is not the thing that we sign up for, so we erase, you know, we have to come back again and start it again. So that's why I'm talking about the growth in terms of the growth of the nature, like a landscape, you know. So we have like a, you know, the tree decided to go in one direction, not decided, but go to one direction, and it fails, stop, and then go in another direction. So that's the thing. So usually, you know, our approach towards the institution also, we're trying to be a little bit subversive, and the way, you know, the way that we work, because we keep bringing people you know, into our project, which they are not the artists. So each time we have this constant ping pong with them, which is they don't you know, consider our collaborator to, you know, for example, put their names on the catalog or put their names on the wall. So for us, you know, it's very epic to, you know,
Bring
it's
down
a
the
victory
banner
to
and just
bring down the
write down
banners,
their
write
names.
down or put their names, you know, like for example, Rais Mullah, which now you see his name on the wall. He came from, you know, his work is a very industrial thing, you know. He's not an artist, you know. He has something inside him which, encountering with us, you know,
Tells him that
you
he
know,
needs
we
to
kind of grow, you know.
That was so interesting about breaking this categorization and these boxes that try to like somehow categorize you in certain kind of institutional or even definition of art and artist. But maybe as a last question, first of all, if you have to add if you have anything to add, that would be nice too about the process. And I want to know, like, maybe how do you go on these explorations for the ideas, for the people that you were mentioning that you're going to find? Do you have any overview of what may come next? I know that it's just the opening of the show for now, but like, I'm just curious because you're mentioning this landscape. I want to know what are like different elements in this landscape.
After we make these structures, molecular structures, we call it, we show it again to a dancer, like a choreographer or dancer, and they saw the image, they saw this cluster of the plates and with the subject matter on top of it. So, and then they start to write a score based on that sculpture. They see, and then again they dance that sculpture, and then we show it again to the to Rais Mullah, the welder, and he interpret that dance and make another structure. So we recently we made two, and then now we are in a negotiate and finding another dancers for these works here.
For the project to, you know, transfer the whole thing to the dance, and then back, you know, again back and materialize that movements again. So it's, we are we found Kiori Kawai, the Japanese choreographer, and then now we find in
Torino, we met with Francesca. It's hard to say her last name. But yeah, we met Francesca, who also danced based on an origin, like a piece that we made based on our body gestures and movements. And so eventually we will use that footage from her choreography to show to Rais Mullah so he can also take a step further for the next version or a replication of the
And
original
during this
structure.
time, we saw some scholars that working on this idea of the copy and imitation, and mimicry. So we are inviting them to do to participate. So it's it's kind
It's
of
like a growing landscape.
growing,
It's never
yeah,
finished.
growing,
It
and then
truly is.
yeah.
Thank you for talking to us, and it's so
Pleasure.
I'm so
Great
glad to
pleasure.
be here and seeing the exhibition. Thank you for
same.
talking to us.